Welcome to the Berks County MS4 video series. This is the second in a series of videos for municipal employees regarding the MS4 Stormwater Management Program. This video will cover the following objectives: a quick reintroduction on what stormwater is and what MS4 means. We will take a look at the MS4 Outfall screening report from the DEP. We will look at a current illicit discharge detection and elimination plan one of our members provided. And finally, we will look at some in-the-field examples of outfall inspections. What is stormwater? As a reminder, stormwater occurs when precipitation from rain or snowmelt flows over the ground. MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. It is a state, city, town, borough, county, parish, district, association, or other public body that has any drainage system that will convey only stormwater. This can be done through curbs, gutters, basin, storm pipes, ditches, swales, municipal streets, and others. It does not include pipes that carry sanitary sewer. This video concentrates on outfall inspections. What is an outfall? An outfall is a point source where stormwater is discharged directly into surface waters of Pennsylvania. According to the DEP, outfalls are required to be checked at least twice in the permit period and at least 40% of all outfalls inspected every year. You should also have a map made with all your outfall locations. Here is page 1 of the MS4 Outfall Field Screening Report. As you can see, it asks for basic information like permittee name, date, coordinates, was it dry weather inspection, amount of rain, etc. It then asks the type of outfall. Is it a closed pipe or an open channel, and other basic information. You should fill out as much as possible. The next question is, was there flow present during a dry weather outfall inspection? The reason they ask this is all inspections should be done with 72 hours of no rain. If not, you can proceed to page 2 and certify your report. If yes, there are questions like color of flow, odor of flow, or are there solids in the flow? Now we will move on to page 2. If there was a sample collected and sent to a lab, there is a spot to record that and the results. Next is the section for if you found an actual illicit discharge. Here you'll put down what you did to identify the discharge, actions taken to correct the discharge, and any other comments you find pertinent to the report or anything that could help others correct the problem. Finally is the certification. You are just signing that the information was collected properly and the statements are true. This form will make sure you are DEP compliant on outfall inspections. Here we have an example illicit discharge detection and elimination plan provided by Byrne Township. Outfall inspections are part of this plan. Please feel free to pause the video and read their plan in its entirety. As part of the illicit discharge detection and elimination program, there are 6 BMPs or best management practices to follow. First is to write the plan. Second is to map the outfalls and streams. Third is to map the storm sewer system. Fourth is to do the outfall inspections. 5 is to enact stormwater management ordinances to implement and enforce a stormwater management plan. And 6 is to do educational outreach. Here we have our first example of an outfall inspection. This outfall is at Berks Nature. The city of Reading is the one who inspects it, and it does go into Angelica Creek, which is at our park. So he starts by filling out the MS4 outfall inspection sheet that's on his clipboard. He then takes pictures of everything he inspects, and even in the pipe if possible. These inspections were done in winter, and as you can see, there is a little bit of snow melt coming out of the pipe. Here we have an inspection taking place at one of the oldest outfalls in the city of Reading. Here we also have a great view of the inside of the pipe and how they used to be made. This is an example of why inspections are so important. This outfall is around the backyard of homes and trash gets in it very easily. Now that this was found, they can clean it, report it, and file it for the audit. Previously at this location, there was erosion when inspected, so they put riprap into it, thereby preventing erosion, and they can prove to the DEP what they are doing. Here we have a culvert on the side of the road. As with any inspection, it is ideal to do it 72 hours since the last rain. But with this type of outfall, the main things to check for are bubbles, suds, and rainbows on the water. You also want to make sure that plant growth is under control so it doesn't damage the area. Recent rain would make that hard to check. The creek is on the other side of the road here. Here we have a metal pipe going into some riprap. It has been more than 72 hours since it rained. However, this is a snow melt, so even though it is a dry weather event, it was leaking water. We had to justify why it was leaking water, and again, that result was snow melt. Here we have a storm grate about 100 yards up from the outfall. In this area, with all the trees, it's constantly getting clogged. By Bern Township doing their inspections twice a year instead of the minimum, they are able to correct problems like this a lot more frequently.
We had an illicit discharge at this location. We had raw sewage being pumped through this pipe system and going right into the Schuylkill River. So what happened was, one night our police were on patrol and they discovered a trash pump. Well, let me go back further. We have some commercial businesses up here that are next to this outfall, and they had a failed or failing sewage system. They had a holding tank with pumps in it that pumped the sewage up the highway, and it eventually got to the airport sewage treatment plant. Well, that system was put in the 50s or 60s, and every once in a while along 183 we'd find sewage coming up through the road. So PennDOT made them get a highway occupancy permit because they didn't have one for the pipe. So they had to do that. They used to do pipe repairs on Saturdays and Sundays when no one was around. They get a little excavator from the rental facility up there, and they dig up the shoulder of the road and replace a section of pipe and quickly fill it back in before Monday would come, before anyone's at work. But over time, that totally failed. So they had no sewage means. So what they did was they put a trash pump in their holding tank and put a discharge hose into a storm drain next to their facility, which tied into this system. And they were pumping raw sewage right to the Schuylkill River, right to it. So our police discovered it. It was at 1 o'clock in the morning on a weekend that they saw the pump. They saw the discharge hose coming out of, because their sewage tanks are right up by the highway, so they could see it from the highway. They observed this. They contacted me. They went to the owner. They knocked on the business door. Now it's a motel, so there was someone on duty. They told them that there's pumps in their sewage holding tanks. They need to get them out. Well, of course, they claimed they didn't know anything about it. The owner came to the property then, did pull the pumps out of the tank, stopped the pumping process, but he claimed he didn't put it in. The next day, we got with our engineer. We came down here. We took samples of the fluid. We found that it had coliform and bacteria and whatnot in it. So it tested positive for being an illicit discharge. And then we got our zoning officer involved, and we placarded the business that it didn't have sufficient sanitary facilities, and the business was closed. And we chased everyone out of the building. And the owner was there while we were doing this. I have to say, he was very professional about it, very polite. I expected to get a lot of grief from the guy, but he said, okay, we have a problem, we need to fix it. So this went on for a period of time where they hired a septic hauler to come in and empty the tanks because they couldn't pump up the highway anymore. And they weren't paying their bill to the airport, so the airport shut them off. So now they're hiring haulers to come in and pump the thing out. Well, there were some occasions where they didn't get the haulers in time, and it overflowed and it went over to the ground and in their storm drain, which connected to this system, and we had 2 more illicit discharges before the time came that they finally connected to the system. They connected to the sewage system. Before that, though, after the initial discovery of having the pumps in the tanks, we contacted DEP as well. After the test came back positive for an illicit discharge, we contacted DEP. We got them involved. I have to say, they did help us. They assisted us. We had a lot of meetings with the owner and DEP and us, telling them that they had to fix the system, they had to connect and resolve the problems. They finally did a couple years later, but before that, there were some, they were charged with criminal activity, and some folks did jail time because of this.
So knowing where your outfalls are and checking them does a lot of good. It prevented a lot of pollution. So
definitely
awesome.
So we have it marked on our form here that this outfall does have a history of illicit discharges, so that we remember that something happened here, so that we keep an eye on it, and we remember that, you know, this is suspect to potential illicit discharges because of the way of the private system that's connected to this. So we keep an eye on it.
In summary, outfall inspections are easy to do. They are required by the MS4 mandate. You should do 2 inspections per site per permit cycle. 40% of all outfalls should be inspected yearly. Of course, more is better. Document everything, and inspections help prevent and fix issues. Remember, we can always do a little bit better when it comes to our stormwater management program. My name is Michael from Berks Nature, and thank you for tuning in to the Berks County MS4 Steering Committee Training Series. For further information, please reach out to Ashley Showers at ashowers@countyofberks.com.